Hello learners, I am Dr. Subodh Kesarwani working with Indira Gandhi National Open University in the School of Management Studies. The topic which I am going to talk today is a very contemporary topic, and this is basically topic which is a need of an hour, and the topic which is omnipresent in the present scenario is curtain raiser to e-commerce. We all know that the commerce is something which had been started almost uh, a day when humans was there, and gradually it had taken a shape of a variety of exchange. Then barter trade was there, then currency was into picture, and then electronic component was there. So e-commerce is nothing but how the technology is putting its wear boots in commerce, and now this e-commerce had been replaced by m-commerce, and a lot of upcoming trends will come, and that is going to give a new shape and kind to the commerce. So before going into the depth of the topic, let's talk about what exactly the traditional commerce is. If we see, the traditional commerce was revolves around the barter trade, where the commodity was replaced with the help of commodity, and there were no intrusion of currency or the money. But from after certain time, the thing had been changed, and this electronic commerce had come up. The impact behind the electronic commerce was the massively use of the technology, and that too in a real time manner, so that the consumers who can do the commerce or trade, they can be into 24/7 mode. So it is not confined to for particular period or to the particular destination, but from any locations, from any place, one can do the trade. They can buy, they can sell. So this is the thing which is there. So e-commerce is the synthesis of traditional business practices with computers, informations, and communication technologies. So what we have seen, that what we have observed, that traditional business practices was there. So it is rather, we can say, the old philosophy in a new concepts, in a new way. So this is the thing by which the commerce had been changed. And if you go more into the depth of commerce, what exactly what exactly we observe in the backdrop, that there was a product, and there was a service also. So when you talk about commerce is not confined to the tangible things, but take into consideration the intangible things also. So you need a product or a services to sell, you need a place from which to sell the product. So all those the commerce which was there in a brick and mortar mode, it's now replaced with the technological enabled tools or the pedagogy which we are using in the present scenario. So you need to figure out a way to get people to come to your place. You need a way to accept orders. So these are the ingredients of what exactly the commerce is. And then after certain time, what we observe, that the money is going to play a very important role. Then there was uh, currency which was there. Then you need a way to deliver the product from one place to another, and for that the logistics is going to play. So when this conventional commerce are replaced by the electronic commerce, there were certain stumbling blocks. The biggest stumbling block was that you have to physically visit to the particular place and then buy the product. For that, the electronic commerce had used the technology, and delivering the product at a doorstep. So this is one of the way by which the product was delivered from by the third person, and the logistics is going to play a very important role. And when you talk about the logistics, the supply chain management, how the things are going to be done, and the biggest USP, the biggest beauty of the electronic commerce is the refund policy. That when, if you are not satisfied with the product, you can refund the product, you can get your money back, or they can accept the return. So these are the certain USPs the electronic commerce have. During this whole presentation, we will see what exactly the commerce is, how the commerce is replaced by the electronic commerce, and then m-commerce comes into picture, and right now the real-time commerce is coming up, where rather than doing buying or selling or trading, we exactly see what exactly the consumers wants. So on the basis of the nature of the demand and supply, we generate the product and try to deliver the product. So this is one of the the good point which had come up, where the real time scenario had come up, and we see that how the product is going to be delivered when exactly the consumers required. And end of the day, the consumers used to go through the reviews prior to buying a product. So this is something which have added. So before buying the product, consumer used to know that what could be the shape and what could be the kind of the product, whether that product suits the uh, particular environment, or it is going to be useful for him or her, or it's it can be used for different purpose. So if you see the history of e-commerce, the e-commerce is not an entirely new type of commerce. What we have talked about, that it had been emerged in the 1960s on a private network, and had typically large organization development, and it is equipped with the electronic data interchange installations and bank implemented electronic fund transfer. We have a separate session on payment system, that how the payment system had revamped the whole electronic commerce industry, because there was a time when we confined uh, to to the stereotype currencies, like the currency we were using. Then we have a electronic. Then we have a net banking philosophy, and finally, what happened? The plastic money enters into the field, and afterwards, what happened? The wallets had entered. So this electronic fund transfer exactly talks about how we have moved from the stereotype currency to the plastic money, to virtual currencies. And right now, the new trend had come up where this virtual currency is knocking the door. So in the coming years, you will find out that e-commerce is not confined to the plastic money, but this virtual currency, what we are knowing about the bitcoins or RM, can also be a part of that. So e-commerce has existed for past several years. It has just recently sustained significant growth. That is very true, and there is a paradigm shift from e-commerce to contemporary commerce. So, and in this whole episode, what we observed, that app-based philosophy had come up. So there was a time when we were just focused on the website-based commerce, and it was done with governed with the laptops and desktop. But what had happened in the present scenario, that a smartphone is playing a very vital role, and the role of the smartphone is quite contemporary in nature, because it is doing many things. It helps, it facilitates in working with aligned with the wallets. It facilitates how the shopping can done, and that too on a real time basis. So this is so e-commerce is for all in the present scenario. There was a time when the e-commerce was originated, it was started by few players, and those players who have been there in the very beginning. Right now, either they merge with the 3-4 players which dominate this whole business. If you talk about the e-commerce industry in the whole on a pan world basis or a pan India basis, there is a player called Amazon. Then we have the Flipkart, which is an indigenous company and owned by the Walmart. So these are the companies, and Alibaba, eBay, and all these companies are there. So what I mean to say, that when they have started the business, they have got a very scarce capital. So the challenge was that how they can govern the business. So there the startup philosophy had come up, and what we observed, that when this startup had come up, the grassroots entrepreneurs, the young generation entrepreneurs had come up, and these young generation entrepreneurs had initiated this product. And finally, what had happened, when they have come up with the product, there was no doubt the scarcity of the capital, and that scarcity of capital was bridged by the venture capitalists or the angel investors or the crowdfunders. So all these venture capitalists have funded. If you go into the backdrop of e-commerce companies, like let's take example of Amazon, which was started almost 2 decades back by Jeff Bezos. And when this company had been started, it was started from a garage. So there was no capital in the hand, but the vision was there, that how the company is there. If you see the full form of Amazon, they started with A and ending to Z. It means what? That anything which starts from A, any product which starts from A and end to Z, it's sold by Amazon. So Amazon is a company which not only confined to this e-commerce business, but right now entered into many things. So what we have observed, that e-commerce companies are doing many things. If you go more into the depth of Amazon, you will find out they have a product called Prime Video. So what exactly this Prime Video is doing? It is providing a web series. It's working in the manner the Netflix or YouTube is doing that. So on the other hand, this company is doing e-commerce, and as well as doing a video streaming. So this is something which is going to add a feather in a cap. So what we have observed, these are the things which have given edge to the companies and open varieties of baskets for the consumers. So, and other product of Amazon is AWS, that is Amazon Web Services. So what we observe that they are not into e-commerce but cloud computing, but more or less things are linked with one another. When you talk about, because the data of the consumers, the data of the employees, data of their counterparts, data of the suppliers are stored on the thing. So things are moving in a real time manner. So if you talk the commerce in the present scenario, it is more like real time in nature, where the data is not merely the name, email or mobile number, but it is over and above to that. And that data is what? That data is giving the footfall of the consumers, what exactly the consumers thinks, at what time he is going for the shopping, at what time he is going for the window dressing. So all those things are going to be taken care, because that is more important. And whether his pockets allow, or he's in the he have a paying capacity or to buy the product, that all judged by the manner he used to devote his time on the internet. So when you talk about all those things, this is going to play a very important role. And there are the first generation entrepreneurs who have no capital in their hand, but they have started the e-commerce. The other example is the Flipkart example, which was started by two Bansal friends. They were the technocrats studied in IIT Delhi, and later on what we have observed, that they have come up with a very big company. And after a certain time, what we observed, that Flipkart had bought this company, this Walmart had bought this company. So things are very clear. So here the incubators roles are going to play a very important role. When we talk about the incubators are established in the B schools, in the in a by the capitalist, or by someone who can provide a platform to all these uh, startups, or the founders who are working in this startup, to groom them, so that once they acquaint with all the pros and cons, then they develop the e-commerce company. So what had happened, if you talk about 20 years, 30 years back, e-commerce was not everybody cup of tea. But right now what happened, the grassroots entrepreneurs or the first generation entrepreneur come up, and they come up with their thoughts, with the new concepts, and the product created. So right now e-commerce is not confined to product selling, but it's moving into various aspects. Like, take example of a learning, and learning is also changing with the change of time. And today we talk more about the learning 4.0, which talks about that how the learning is going to be changed. Bajus, Vedantu, and all those examples are there. And on the other hand, we have some good examples which have been started by the professors of Harvard, like edX, Coursera. So all those things are part of. So right now the e-commerce is not merely selling the product, but think more over and above to that. So learning is one of the way by which the things had been changed, and we have moved from face-to-face learning to blended learning. Then this contemporary learning is come up, which we used to call hybrid learning. So hybrid learning provide students a platform to choose their own syllabi. So the intention behind is very clear, that we are when you talk about the contemporary e-commerce always believes in talking about the pull approach. Pull approach is more consumer centric, following the push approach, which is the supplier centric. So what exactly the difference between the push and pull? That pull approach always believes that the customer is the king. So anything which is going to be benefited to the consumers on a long-term basis, either it could be the sales service or the long-term relationship, it talks about that phenomena. Whereas push services is basically you are imposing the thing. So there was a time when company develop the product, and consumers are bound to go for that. So they have no choice. And what had happened? There were some good examples, there were some bad examples. We all are familiar with the product called Kodak or Nokia. So what we have seen, that these products have dominated the market for a longer time, maybe for decades, for 3 decades or 4 decades. But right now it stands nowhere. The reason behind is that they have never think about the consumers. They always believe that believes in the philosophy of push approach. So the product need to be created in that manner. The companies who have established or who had retained their credentials in this present world was due to the manner they have integrated with their consumers. So if they are thinking about their consumers in a positive manner, the company have a long-term future. So this is so what I mean to say, that E-commerce is basically an old phenomena, the relationship with the consumers, but there's a use of technology. So what we have to see that how the technology is going to be done. So it's not like that technology can surpass the humans. What is going on that when the purpose of e-commerce is to take the help of the technology and try to enable the model. But what is going on in the present scenario that technology is now crossing the boundaries, and somewhere we have observed that it is dominating the humans. So that need to be taken care. So when you talk about the e-commerce as a whole, there are certain pros and cons, there are certain advantages, there are certain limitations. We will definitely go more into the depth of that how this is going to be good for the consumers, and sometimes how the company is going to be benefited. Because what happened during this all process, the shelf life of the company had been deteriorated. There was a time when the shelf life of the company was 50 to 60 years. So the one company established, it retains for 30 years, 40 years. But what had happened in the present scenario, the shelf life reduced from 30, 40 years to 20 years. And in the coming years, you will find out it will narrow down to 5 years or 10 years. So why it is there? Because they are not thinking about the consumers. And when we all have seen the e-commerce from last decade, that a lot of the startups had come up. If we name some product, they were doing quite well for certain months, but after certain time, what had happened, they stand nowhere, or either they merge with the big players or they have been evaporated. So this is the need of an hour, that one has to think that how the change is going to be adapted. If the company is not going to change, they will be out from the picture and new players can come up. So this is the thing, and there is a concept of big fish and small fish. What we observe that the big fish always grab the small fishes. So the startup which are coming up, like there are a lot of examples. It's not like that we can take example of learning. We can go into the food industry. This food industry and travel industry had drastically changed. The concept of brick and mortar restaurants had been evaporated, and during this pandemic stage, during this lockdown stage, what we observed that this model is going to be narrowed down fastly. So people are ordering the food from Zomato, Food Panda, or Swiggy. Whereas when travel comes, nobody go to the counters and book the tickets. They go to the Make My Trip or the other travel sites. From there they book the tickets. So if you see in the past, there were a player called Thomas Cook, so who was pioneer in the travel industry, but right now stands nowhere. If you study this case study, you will find out the company is in big loss because they have not changed themselves. So that is something which is going to play a very important role, and adaptability, accessibility, and ease of doing is going to be very important. Because if you are accessible, it's fine, and if you are not able to adapt the change, because and what could be the proportion of change, that is also going to play a very important role. Because if the proportion is not systematically planned, ultimately what will happen that technology is going to dominate this whole market, and things will be out. So there are 5 trends in e-commerce which we usually call that control risks with consumers. Like consumers is the king, which we usually says, and how the consumers are going to be tackled, and what are the parameters which need to be taken care, so that they are quite flexible in nature. When they buy the product online, they have a feel of refund the product at any time when they required, within a prescribed time frame the company made. So if the refund policy is weak, ultimately what we observe that customer away from the particular portal, and after certain time what had happened, the consumers switch over to the different brands. So this refund policy, and how they are going to take that, and when the refund is going to come, when the product is going to be replaced, this is going to play a very important role. And reviews also matters, and how much genuine the company is when they sell the product, whether the product which they are selling is quality wise okay or up to the mark, that also matters. So research starts with search but happens on brand and retail sites. Consumers expect social tools for their research experience, engaging mostly with the basics. Consumer seeks a variety of voices throughout the research experience. What we observed that mouth marketing is something which was previously used in a stereotype manner, in a brick and mortar mode. So these mouth marketing is now taken a shape of reviews. When we go for any product buying, we usually see a lot of reviews are there, where the past consumers talks about what exactly the product looks like, and whether that product's is quite good. Because new brands are coming. What I have told that shelf life of the product is narrow down now, and so there are some new products which are coming, and how you're going to know whether that product quality is up to the mark? It is the consumers which is going to navigate you. So social networking is one of the way by which the things are going on, and these social networking is also converting into e-commerce. If you talk about, take example of Facebook or Twitter, they are right now, do a lot of trading also. So if you talk about the Facebook had recently launched this its virtual currency called Libra. So in the coming years, this stereotype currencies, the virtual currency is going to replace by this virtual currencies. And some of the countries may have made it legalized, some are not. But if you go into the backdrop of this Bitcoin, the blockchain technology is going to play a very important role, because this blockchain technology is not, coming up or, becoming a part of our daily life also. Because the way we use the WhatsApp, the way we use the Google Drive, this is one of the examples the blockchain technology have. So blockchain technology is now, moving into the banking industry, moving into the hotel industry or the traveling industry. So these integrated technologies, either we talk about web analytics or the algorithm used, or the search engine optimization. So this is definitely going to add a feather in a cap when we talk about e-commerce, because e-commerce is nothing but what we have told in the beginning stage. It's the old whiskey in new bottle. It's an old philosophy. So how this old philosophy is going to intermingle with the contemporary thought, that is need to taken care. So there are 4 important areas of e-commerce, that is pedagogy, logistics, payment methodology, and customer support. So pedagogy is changing with the change of time. When Amazon have entered into this business, in the very beginning, the venture capitalist was the Tiger Global. So Tiger Global was a company who have funded this company, and intention was very clear, because in the beginning stage, Amazon was purely selling a book, and after certain time, what we observed that started with the old book, then new book, and then what we have observed that it is now into the fast moving consumer goods. So what we have observed that this pedagogy, logistics, payment methodology, and other thing is going to play a very important role. So when you go more into the depth of the pedagogy, the technology the company is going to use, that is going to play a very important role. Amazon is a company which have massively invested on the cloud. So this investment in the cloud was not appreciated in the very beginning stage, because once they have invested a huge amount, and their whole balance sheet become haphazard. So ultimately, in the market, it was having an impression that the company is going to be in loss, because the third quarter had, if you talk 2-3 years back, the third quarter have showed a loss. So what was the reason behind that? The reason was that they have a long-term vision. They know that if they massively invest on the cloud, they know better view about their consumers, and finally by that they can revamp the product and do that. So on a pan-world basis, they have put the servers, and the things had been changed. Logistics is something which is changing with the change of time, and what we observed that supply chain management, there was a time when logistics is purely just buying, transferring the goods from one place to another, but from there it had been changed. So this is the way by which the things are going to be changed. And payment methodology, dedicated session on payment methodology, which is going to talk more about how the payment methodology can work, and there we can see how the things had been replaced from other aspect. So all the things are going to play a very important role. So if you go more into the key drivers of e-commerce, their degree of advancement of telecommunication infrastructures, then you have technological key drivers, you have political key drivers, you have economical key drivers, and you have social key drivers. So technological key drivers believes in degree of advancement, political believes in role of government, how the government is going to make the things ease of doing, because the companies who are promoting, and then IT skills, and economically how it is going to be benefited to the nation as a whole. So there are certain, what I've observed, that there are certain pros and cons. If you see, there are certain advantages of e-commerce. So when you talk about e-commerce, it believes in faster buying and selling, and buying and selling in a 24/7 mode. I am in my office, and at the same time I can do the shopping, I can pay my utility bills, I can do many things. So these are certain advantages where things are not earmarked, and for the particular job, if you are traveling during that time, you can do the shopping also. And somewhere we observe that those who are traveling through trains or railways, they have ordered the food, and when they move to the particular station, the product had been delivered by this food apps like Swiggy, Zomato, or Food Panda. So this is the new philosophy which had come up. and no need of physical company setup, and a lot of things are virtually going to be changed, and customer can easily select product from different providers without moving around physically other things. But on the other hand, there are certain limitations because there is lack of security, because people are not familiar with that, and this had given roof to the cyber hackers, to the cyber world, that the things can be there are certain threats which had come up. So the company need to be equipped with the security parameters if they want to come out from this. So equipment cost, access cost, knowledge is going to is quite high, because when you are going massively, it's not like that, just buying a website, or making a app and running through Google Play stores. You have to do a lot of back office activities, and these back office activities require a lot of privacy or personal data relationship replacement. And on the other hand, the society have follow the less human interaction. What we have observed in this pandemic stage, that there is no human interaction. So what had happened, new kind of e-commerce had come up. If and the stores are equipped with the without humans, and the robots are working over there. So these are the changes which had come up. And if you talk about there are 4 players which are dominating this whole e-commerce market. Amazon is one of that, which is owned by Jeff Bezos in 1994. And on the other hand, the Flipkart example which we had talked about, we have eBay, and Alibaba is there, which is owned by Jack Ma, who is situated in China. So these 4 companies have come up with a very contemporary thought, and if you go into the backdrop, you will find out all was a startup started by a single person, and in a gradual stage, what we observed, that taken a it's now going to join a $1 trillion club. So this is the way by which the things are there. A company started by one man, involving a lot of promoters, and finally what had happened, you found that it's going to become a hot cake. So this is the thing which is there. And if you talk more about the future of e-commerce, I think the future of e-commerce is right now changed with the change of time. We have a real-time consumers, and these consumers are equipped with artificial intelligence, machine learning, and virtual currency is there, which is definitely going to work as a new things in this direction, and less human intervention is there. So the human intervention is there, and more skilled person is there. So there's more use of robotics, or rather we can say that there's more use of cobot. That is, how the collaborative effort can be done between the robots and humans. So that the technology can done up. So I think I have talked a lot about this e-commerce, and this is just a curtain raiser to that. And this e-commerce is replaced by another term in the coming years called m-commerce, and maybe new kind of the commerce can come. But the only thing is that the basic phenomena, the genesis behind this e-commerce will always remain the same, that how you're going to interact with your consumers, how you are in touch with your consumers, because end of the day, the consumer is the king. If you are not going to give better service to your consumers, or not fulfill the commitment, the company will be in trouble. And there are some good companies, there are some examples of good companies, there are some examples of bad companies. So there's no question of saying good or bad. It's the consumers who are interpreting that how the company can be, and what could be the future of the company. If they have a positive approach toward their company, no doubt the company can do the wonders. Thank you very much.